My name is Cathy, Kiana Keiko Kapua. I'm a Native Hawaiian transgender woman. I've worked at the Life Foundation for 12 years, going on 13 years now. Prior to that, I worked at Kulia Namamo for 3 years doing an employment training program specific for transgender communities, providing employment training services. What's going to happen right now is we're going to hear from our community, some of our voices. All of us have personal experiences working with or being in the sex working industry. We've done survival sex work and we have a lot of stories to tell. We're gonna phase it as I get to be Wendy Williams, Oprah. I get to ask these questions and our panelists will be able to one by one answer the questions and hopefully we get to get a lot of the stories out. So I would love for you to tell a little bit about your story and your experiences with sex work. Maybe we'll start off with Janai.
All right. So when I transitioned at 21, I tried to affiliate myself with the girls, which led me to the streets. I thought it was just an in thing, just to hang out. But what I've noticed was there was a bond, a sisterly love that we all had and shared. And going out, having each other's back, taking care of each other out there, whether if there's a cop, a Connie, a guy that doesn't like the tea, we would all have each other's back. And throughout my time on the streets as a transgender, there was times where it was great, and also times that it was really bad, and it led me to getting caught. I spent time. From there, I changed my life, and I wanted better. I wanted something more than what we know, you know. Sex work was just easy cash, and I wanted more. Right now, I'm currently at Hawaii Medical College. I'm getting my degree, my associate's in applied science, and I'm going to become a CMA. And I'm not stopping there. I'm going to strive for my goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Janai. Honey, would you like to share some of your experiences with the sex working trade?
Yes. I started sex work at a very young age. Although I had support at home, it was very, nobody was going to help me with my transition, so I had to, I took it upon myself to not be a financial burden to my family or my parents, to, pay for my hormones and stuff like that. So I just worked the streets at a young age till I was throughout high school. Yeah. And basically it got me, all the things I wanted that I felt I had to embody was a woman when I was born. But my transition and survival, it also led me to, meet the sisterhood and allowed me to have financial stability that I couldn't get, from, I guess, the real world, or because everybody, for me, I don't know about everybody else's experiences, but for me, I experienced a lot of discrimination in school. So I figured, if people don't get along with me in school, they won't get along with me in the workforce. So why shouldn't get a job? And, I'm already sex working, so why not, just prostitute? And, I started getting everything at a young age, like 20, 21, I was getting surgeries done, just to modify myself to how I wanted, Selena, so yeah, and now it's a different story. I feel like I've kind of moved up to a next level in a sense. I was able to go to school. I was still sex working, but I was supporting myself during my schooling, barber school. I graduated. I also have a job now, and it's different. It's different, whereas I'm still learning, and yeah, I'm still learning. I'm learning a lot, like, because being on the streets, all you know is pulling tricks. I mean, I was sex working for about 10 years on the street, and then escorted for about 4 years, and then I kind of stopped because school. Because if I wouldn't have slowed it down and find some kind of balance, then I would not have graduated, and I would probably not have this job, and I'd probably not be here. So, and sharing my story with all of y'all. So yeah, it's a nice, it's a great experience, and I'm just glad to have this platform and share my story. Maybe awareness, get it out there. Because, I mean, maybe you guys might know some people, trans or whatever's. It may help, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Kaleka, you want to share any stories about your experiences in sex work?
So when I got into the commercial sex industry, I was kicked out of my house at the age of 16. I had nowhere to go. Like I said, I kept my life was contained of who I really wanted to be and what I really wanted to do, and I ended up meeting a community that was going to help me be able to tap into that. And growing up in that community, I learned a lot of things, and at the time it was, in order for us to survive, we needed to, like they would say, pull dates. We would have to pick up Johns so that we could pay our bills, take care of the necessities that we needed, food to eat, and it was like this lifestyle. It was like a whole different world out of reality. It was like we lived in a world. And at first it was fun because the money was fast. I could get me what I needed. I was stable. When you get that first taste, that heat, that rush drives you, and you keep on doing it. But after a while, it gets kind of stale. It takes a part of you that, people always say it will take a part of you, but they don't really realize seriously that you lose a part of yourself in it. The beauty of it is that, what happened was, for me, it led to other things, and I said it led to other condiments. So you add another illegal thing to it, and you added another illegal thing to it. And what happened was, I thought I started to become who I wanted to be, and I started to paint this illusion of who I was, but the reality was, it ended up spiraling down for me. And what I don't know then, what I know now is that, it took me to be incarcerated. It took me to be incarcerated to get some treatment, to get some help, so that I could tap into this, then I could look into this, and I could heal. We have beautiful programs like the Koana Project that helps us to tap into these things, help us to get us to where we need to be and where we want to be, but in a more healthier alternative. They don't put us down for where we came from or what we've done, and we don't shun anybody. We understand the things that we do and that we had to do in order to survive, because the bottom line is, it was all about survival. We did what we did in order to live, and some of us, that's all we knew. That's all we could gain. Today, I work at a nonprofit. I'm able to help people instead of hurting people. I'm able to give back. I'm able to take the time and apply for school so that I can go and get my MSW in social work. It's because of these opportunities. Those kind of things, family. Do I ever regret the path that I've chosen, the decision that I made? At the time when I was doing it, I didn't know what I was doing. Am I responsible for it? I have to be. Do I regret it? Not at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Sex work looks different now, as also with our community. So as we hear the stories of the homeless community or other groups or youth groups or what have you, we hear that it's being done a little bit differently than it was 20 years ago, and we can all attest that there are apps on our phones now that make it so much more easier, that there are websites that you can go to that make it a lot more easier. We also did talk about how you can show pictures, you can show measurements, you can show body parts, you can also show preferences, all before even engaging and talking with the person. So the person actually can shop and look for, and we can actually verify and authenticate if this is the person we want to work with, right? This is a safer way in many ways. Some of the challenges we did talk about, the sister love that our sister Janai just talked about, it was a social thing a lot more before. When we would go out, we would go to the club, we would go outside and smoke a cigarette or something, and somebody would pick us up. And we would go make some coin while our girlfriends are up in the bar, upstairs in the bar, you know already. And they would come back, and we would go and buy everybody drinks. It was a social thing. We also know that sometimes the sister love meant we all came out together, we're all gonna go home together. So we're looking out for each other. The things that used to be of times past before, or the way how we did it before, looks so different now, is that I can work on my couch at home with no mug on, and I'll be looking at what I want, and when I'm setting up my appointment, and when I know it's time, I'll get ready and I'll go out. Not necessarily am I telling my sister love where I'm going. Not necessarily is one of my sisters aware of what's happening. And we also understand the way how some of the laws are written is if my sister drives me there, she might be accomplice, or she might be a felony charge for my sister who just drove me to my place of work, right? So the challenges is it looks different, it's harder to monitor, but it's still part of survival sex work. So as a harm reduction approach, we recognize that sex work still stays apart, but survival is still part of the key game. So I think if we as harm reduction approach can utilize and help alleviate some of the stressors, the rental, the housing, the inaccessibility to employment, the healthcare access for surgeries or gender confirming surgeries, these were my reasons of sex work. There's different ways to approach and do it in a harm reduction way. But what we say is we don't tell the girls that the sex work is the reason or the sex work is a hard task or don't do sex work or what have you. Is do what you got to do, but there's also many options. And I think as service providers, we see a lot of head nods that our whole goal is to make sure our clients and our people in our community know that they have options. Thank you. Yes, please. We like fun questions.
All right, I want to know if any of you can remember a date, a man, who you really kind of wish was still in your life.
Okay.
Well, first rule, never fall for the trick. Okay? Don't make husband.
Don't honeymoon. No
honeymooning.
Yeah.
But there was a Connie that I enjoyed myself being with, and I seen him regularly. But over the years, hello, I don't have a pussy, so he missed it, you know? So he carried on. He found a girlfriend and cut my line and my bank account, you know? So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I don't really have any clients that I miss, but I do miss the money. The money flow was my biggest, my biggest purpose why I was still in the business for a long time. So no, I don't miss them at all.
You miss the coin, right?
I miss the coin.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's only one guy I know. Never mind.
Benjamin Franklin, right? And a whole bunch of him, right? Thank you. Yes, Kaleka?
I think there is one person.
Okay, don't tell us his name.
No, there is one person. And you know what the thing was? This was the person that every time that I got into trouble, we used to cut, or they put a warrant out for me. He was actually one of my dates, but he used to come and pick me up.
Bail you out?
He used to come and give me matching bracelets and put me in the cell, and
Oh.
I had such a good relationship with him. I never get him out of my mind. But I had such a good relationship with him. But I realized today, now, because I'm sober, because I was thinking, I'm doing things more healthy, that what he was doing was we had a relationship, and throughout that whole relationship, it was always that if I got into trouble, he wanted me to turn myself in. And, we are hard-headed because we're in that survival skill, and we just want to live. What we feel that we at that time that's what living is. But what I realized is that he was trying to help me the whole time. And every time that the warrant would come up, it was not his job to come and get me. It was the sheriff's job to come and get me. But he would always pop up. And I realized today, and hopefully one day when I run into him, I'll be able to thank him. Because, he's the only date that I've ever thought about and the only one that I ever think about. And there was just times where sometimes our dates are just, they're lonely. They just need companionship. They just want somebody to keep you company. I used to get paid for one date for watching, I used to sit there and watch Friends on TV with them. And that's why I think what drove me more too. It was like that coin, because it's like, girl.
Going, I pay some bills.
Sit there for an hour with the remote TV, talking story with them, and I'm getting paid for it.
Yeah.
It's those small little things that drive you to keep on doing things like that. But no, for him, I think the reason why I keep thinking about him is because I want to thank him one day. Because if he didn't keep doing it, what he was doing his job and doing what he needed to do because he cared for me, then I wouldn't have been where I am today. I wouldn't be speaking to you guys today.
Thank you. Excellent. I'll answer too, just because it's so fun, that question. I can think of two. And this will kind of give a different perspective on things. I also miss my police officer who I used to date, but for a different reason. The sex wasn't the greatest and whatever, but I think because and the money wasn't the greatest either, because I felt like I was doing philanthropy. Not just joking. I felt like it was a situation of power. Because I had shared in this morning's group, my personal story is that I lost my virginity doing sex work, because this is how I learned about sex. They didn't teach me about my type of sex in high school, so I had to learn it outside of high school. So I learned that on the streets, and that's where I hung out. And the sense of authority and power came from dating that police officer, and it gave me a sense of rush, like a feeling of wow, right? What other questions? We have time for one more question. Any question? Please, Maddie. So the question is, have you or any of the panelists faced any type of violence on the streets? And how have you dealt or navigated through the police system or reporting process?
Yeah, I did have a guy that was trying to attack me because he just wanted a freebie. A freebie is free sex, free blowjob, without pay. I demanded my money, and I didn't have time to call any cops. But the one thing I do know is with us trannies, we know to fend for ourselves. Like, you want to beat us? Bitch, we're going to beat your ass, Smack down, like, fuck that, I ain't taking that shit. And I'm a big girl. Like, you know what I mean? I can handle. So.
West Side?
Yeah.
And we travel in packs, right? We have sister labs.
Yeah. So when that would happen, we would respond to other sisters and say, hey, look out for this car. Like, we chasing them. And which is true. I mean, everyone can say it. We all done it. We all chase Connies down.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Yeah, I experienced a lot of violence. Like I said, and it carried out, with the tricks and territory with the real girls.
Other girls, yeah.
Sometimes other girls that we don't like, Yeah, there was a lot of violence, but to help each other, or, so I'm gonna speak for myself. I experienced like rape and getting. I mean, he tried to beat me up, but like she said, we know how to hold our own. Did I go to the cops or anything? No, because I felt like nothing would have been handled. Because there's been situations where you tell or you try to call the cops and whatnot, and then nothing gets handled. I don't know if it's because we're trans or whatever, but yeah, so we take it upon ourselves, take initiative to help, the girls or whoever's in trouble. But like for myself, I always kind of went after that, person who, inflicted
Your hand is
some
yours.
kind of pain. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think to piggyback on both of theirs, no matter what the situation, because of our community, because the girls do stick together. We do run solo also, when we do our things. But like there is that sisterly bond, and when another sister is down, we do go and there's a camaraderie where we do take care of each other, regardless of what she might have did to me 5 minutes or what she may have said to me 5 minutes ago.
That's still my sister.
So when shit goes down, excuse my language, we are there because we know what it feels like. We know what we go through. I have a scar on my eye because of a military man, because he wanted to do the do and he was all drunk, and then he got kind of stupid with me, and when I kind of laid down the line, it was like I just felt this blow to my eye, and that was like but then the thing was, we handle our own.
Yeah.
He got 2 cracks in, and that was about it.
That's it. He ain't never going to
But
do
then
it again.
we can't call the police because even I've been arrested as transgender, and sometimes they do the most not all police officers, but they can do the most humiliating things to us while we're in jail, and they make a scene out of us, and regardless of what I do for a living, regardless of what I need to do to survive, nobody deserves to be treated like that. And and this is where education comes in. This is where we come in. This is where we come to share with you guys our experience, strength, and hope, so that you may tell another and they may tell another. Because the only way that that change is gonna happen is if we work together, and that and change doesn't happen overnight. It is a work in progress, and I just remember that situations of how we try to do the right thing, and the door gets closed on us, and then people wonder why we do the things that we do, and it's not just for the sex industry.
Thank you.
Thank you. I cannot.
Thank you, Kaleka. You brought up some very good points, and thank you for the tissue. I just want to also end up with sharing that a story of mine when I would be with some of our friends in Wahiwa, and the way how it's laid out like a grid, and the amount of cars that come through, there would be cars that would come and shoot pellet guns or BB guns, or I don't know if it was real guns, but it was solar, and one of my sisters got shot. And she screamed from up top of the hill, but we're all on a track where we can see each other. So it had to get worse before we had to call the cops. It had to get crazy because we all jumped in our cars and chased that person down. What happens is it was young kids. They thought it was funny. They found whatever kind of gun it was. They had, I don't know what they had, but they threw stuff and they were vandalizing all kind of things. They threw it at the McDonald's and they were just going crazy. And I think they thought that we were part to make fun of as well because we were on there on the street doing survival work. What happened was, as my girl was bleeding and we were helping her, we realized that it was just like a flesh wound. It wasn't serious. My other girlfriend jumped in the car. She chased that car down. Now they recognized that we were on the case, but we already called and called out, and everybody on the block. It's a grid. If you know Wahiawa, it's a grid. Where's my Hana? She knows it's a grid. You go around one block, it's a one-way street. We're going to catch you on the next block. So it's super quick. We did. And the guys didn't know what happened because they saw it was the girls on the street that they did this to. They went around the corner there at the stoplight laughing it up. My girlfriend came around the back, grabbed her clogs off and cracked the whole window. Bam! They jetted right through the red light, almost made an accident. They got out, whatever. I guess my other girlfriend with the car chased them down, ran them off the road, probably endangering a lot of people's lives. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were at war. This was war. We were fighting for our streets. We're fighting for our business office. We're fighting for the dignity or whatever we could because this was our survival. We needed to make rent. Regardless of if you're going to make fun of us, we still got to make rent. Long story short, they ran through. They went back to on Schofield Barracks or whatever. They were underage, so it seems like they had family or something. I think not all of them were underage, but they went back on Schofield Barracks, and my girlfriend with the car who was chasing them down was able to report them. The military police came out and got them. We was able to find evidence. We took pictures, and we found stuff. So that's what it took for us to call the cops, because we knew we were fighting for something bigger than my own story. I'll share a separate story also because I can relate to what Honey was saying, that, yeah, we face violence, and we just suck it up as, another bad day at work. Oh, just another blowjob I didn't want to do, right? At least I have my life. I don't want to call the cops because now they have to come here. It's going to ruin the atmosphere. Now I'm not going to have business, but I still have to date. So whether I make the report, I still have to date. So by calling the cops, sometimes you bring attention to an area which we don't want to do. So there's very many reasons of when and where and why we don't call the cops. A lot of times it's because of lack of trust. We have bad experiences with authority, and sometimes that distrust causes us to fear so many things. So thank you all women for sharing your stories. They were all impactful, and I think we've gained a lot. Please help me welcome and thank our panelists. Thank you so much for your time. And once again, I would like to thank you for all your attention and for your efforts that you're doing for our community. The trans community appreciates you and loves you for all the work that you're doing. Thank you.